Hey everybody, this is Caryn.
And this is Jill.
And you're listening to Scream Girl Squad.
Hello again.
Hello again. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Because of Thanksgiving and illness. And December is just kind of a crap month.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a lot of people's favorite month. People like the holidays. People like Christmas.
It's mine. My favorite. Yeah.
I find it crushingly stressful.
It's funny because I love it, but samesies. Mm-hmm. Like, I pretty much sleep from Christmas to New Year's, but I still love it.
Yeah, I'm literally taking that entire time period off work expressly to sleep and write, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but basically what it boils down to is there's always too much going on, and fun little things like recording a podcast with your friend kind of get put on the back burner sometimes. Yeah. So,
which is a bummer. We've missed you all and each other. But
indeed.
Here we are.
Yeah, because pretty much if I see Jill, it's for this most of the time. So, yeah.
We did have a little get-together in between, but that was with other people as well.
We ate such good cheesecake.
Amazing cheesecake.
But yeah, we're back. And then we're probably going to go away again for a couple weeks.
Hey, we can maybe do it next week.
Yeah, we can find a different day.
Yeah.
Wait, is next week Christmas week?
No.
Okay, then we're definitely doing it next week.
Yeah.
And then it's probably
taking a break on Christmas. Yeah. Is Christmas Wednesday or Tuesday?
I think it's Wednesday.
Yeah. So Christmas Eve is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Which is basically my Christmas. That's when we get together as a family. So.
Yeah, me too. Because in Spain, you celebrate on Christmas Eve.
Well, there you go. We're just Spanish.
Christmas Day is the hangover recovery day.
It's when we go to movies.
Nice. Oh, so many good movies to see right now. I still need to go see Knives Out.
Me too.
I heard it's fantastic.
I've heard way good things.
And then there are a lot of good horror movies coming out.
Yeah. Well, and we haven't got to see Dr. Sleep yet, which we really need to.
Definitely need to see that. I'll see when it's coming out on video, and if it's not going to be available to rent for a while, maybe we should try to catch it at a second run or something.
Yeah.
And then the new Ghostbusters trailer just dropped.
Oh my gosh, that looks so fun.
It does look so fun. I don't know if they just buried the comedy in the trailer, because they kind of made that mistake with the 2016 one. People didn't like the jokes in the trailer, and I think that really hurt the tickets, so maybe they're keeping it more mysterious or something, or I don't know if the tone is more Stranger Things level serious.
Well, it could be a little more mysterious. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm already busting out theories in my head, so... Yeah.
Well, and I already can't help but connect it to Stranger Things in my head because Finn Wolfhard is in it.
Right.
So, yeah. So lots of good stuff to see coming up.
Yeah.
But today, we caught up on a very, very old classic.
Yes.
So this was a listener request. Our friend Mike, a.k.a. Jill's cousin.
I was like, friend, brother I never had. Just kidding, I have a brother. He's basically my big brother.
All of them are awesome. Mike really wanted us to watch this. And if it works, we have a message from Mike about this movie.
Yes.
Hello, Jill and Caryn. I am so excited to be on Scream Girl Squad. And I'm really excited for the movie that you guys are reviewing today. I've always loved Wait Until Dark, and it's been a personal favorite of mine. It might seem kind of slow to people in today's audience, but for me, that slow build-up to the last 15 minutes of explosive climactic excitement is just something that isn't seen often enough in film these days. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I know that it always surprises me when I see how young Alan Arkin is, and I hear Audrey Hepburn, who's just off of My Fair Lady, doing such an amazing work with her voice and her ability to look so blind. Now, this movie just plays off of my favorite fears, those fears of perceived helplessness and the unknown. And the way it's done is just brilliant. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and I certainly hope it makes you jump the way it always makes me jump.
Magic.
I don't know how I went my entire life with having never seen it before.
I don't know either.
Like, what the crap? And I
feel like I failed you.
My parents definitely have seen this movie. I guarantee if I ask them about it, my dad will quote some of Alan Arkin's lines at me, like, no question.
I'm sure. It's such a classic.
Yeah.
The movie trivia actually specifies this is Stephen King's favorite scary movie.
Really?
He says it is the scariest movie. So, there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure that, I mean, I have to assume I'm not the only person that this film and the play upon which it was based that just whizzed us by. So there have to be other people out here who haven't seen this movie.
Well, and I'm always a little surprised the number of people I come across who have not seen or heard of it, even though it stars Audrey Hepburn. So...
And Alan Arkin.
Yeah, and Alan Arkin.
Who, gosh, his, like, IMDb list is ginormous.
Insane. Yeah. He's been acting forever, even though this is only his second feature film. So...
But it was also, how long ago was 1967?
Long time.
Like 52 years?
52? 6?
No.
52. 52.
Yeah, 52.
We can't. This isn't a math podcast.
Once again, Jill, here we have no business working careers that have to do with numbers or money.
Never, ever.
So, yeah, it was made a while ago and is considered, like Jill said, like it's a cinematic classic.
I feel like any of those lists of greatest horror movies of all time that I ever
the top
see.
100.
Yeah, it's absolutely always on those lists.
Yeah.
Near the top.
So I'm really happy I got to catch up with it.
Yeah.
So Jill, for the sake of people like me who somehow this movie passed them by, you want to give us a spoiler-free synopsis?
Absolutely. So this movie is about Susie, played by Audrey Hepburn. And she recently went through a car accident and lost her sight. And so she's navigating how to function as a blind person. And while doing that, she's left home alone one evening. And some men come and try to get her to help them find a missing doll that they think her husband has. The end.
The end.
That's all I can say, spoiler free.
Yeah, pretty much. Good synopsis. So before we actually dive into the full spoilerful glory and tell you all of our thoughts, as per usual, we'll rate the movie. We rate it on 2 scales, one for enjoyability and one for how scary the film was. We use a different actual measuring tool every time, but it's always on a scale of 1 to 5. So for enjoyability, we rate it based on some type of food that we enjoyed eating. We picked out today on Chinese food, and I made cookies.
I think we've used that a couple times, but I don't even care.
Yeah. Have we used pumpkin chocolate chip cookies?
No, I don't think we have. Yeah,
all right.
These are good. Yeah.
This time, our treat was made by moi, who I'm not super great in the kitchen, but winter makes me want to bake. Like, as soon as it starts snowing, I'm like, all right, KitchenAid, it's me and you, buddy. We're going to cook a whole bunch of fatty, sugary things.
I think that's a fact of life.
Yeah. So tonight we ate my 3 ingredient pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. 3 recipes together all in one. You, like, take different ingredients from each recipe. It's basically like Rachel trying to make a tiramisu.
Layer of jam, layer of lettuce, beef sauteed with peas and onions.
I didn't do that, thank God.
Whew, luckily, because I ate those cookies.
Were they good enough to use to rate?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
delicious.
Yeah. Nice. All right, good job, me. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, how much did you enjoy Wait Until Dark, Jill?
5.
5 out of 5.
I love this movie, and it never fails to, never ever fails to give me an enjoyable evening.
Right on. Well, and you've seen more than just the movie, right? You've
Yes.
seen the stage play how many times?
I want to say twice. Possibly 3 times, but twice for sure.
Okay. And the movie how many times?
I don't even know.
Yeah, that's the mark of a 5 out of 5. Like, you've watched and rewatched this movie.
Yeah.
I totally agree. This movie was fantastic. I will watch it again, probably on an annual basis. I loved it so much.
Good.
Especially Alan Arkin's performance. Holy crap.
I know. He's incredible.
He knocked it out. And
Yeah.
I've always loved him in everything he's been in ever since I was little, and my mom made me watch So I Married an Axe Murderer with her on a regular basis.
I love
His character in that movie is so ridiculous.
It's true. He's my favorite.
So in terms of fright factor, I personally think the scariest thing in this entire movie was Alan Arkin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should rate the fear factor on a scale of 1 to 5 Alan Arkins.
That's fair.
All right.
There's like, yeah.
So, yeah, scale of 1 to 5. How frightening is Wait Until Dark?
I'm debating between 4 and 5. I'm going to go with 4.
What?
I know.
Like, on a
Do you want me to
modern...
explain it to you?
Yes, please.
I think it's scary because it's something that could actually happen, and it's terrifying, like the evilness of humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that someone can take such advantage of someone like that. And they, like, terrorize this woman just to get what they want. Like, their whole motivation is to get what they want.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah, like, were this to happen to me in real life, I would probably have a heart attack and die.
Years of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's terrifying on that level. The fact that it's completely 100% something that can and does happen in this world on a daily basis.
Wow, I feel like the horror film equivalent of a Philistine over here. Because I agree with you conceptually.
Yeah.
Like, conceptually very, very scary. But as a spoiled child of the 80s who has been, like, watching horror films for way too long and way too often.
Yeah.
I think based on tension and a couple of key scenes, I am going to give it a 2.5.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Again, 5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was a different kind of fear for me, I guess. So.
And it is for sure. I want to revisit this at the end and see if I change your mind.
Okay. Deal.
Challenge accepted.
It doesn't take a whole lot. I'm a very easy to persuade person. Well, I want to hear you change my mind. Like that meme on the internet with a guy sitting behind a table.
Yeah. Change my mind.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Okay.
Spoilers.
So the movie starts out with like not a lot of context of what's happening. So someone's cutting open the back of a doll and pulling out all of the stuffing. Mm-hmm. You see it's a man with glasses, and there's a woman sort of pacing behind him, telling him to hurry. He pulls all the stuffing out of the doll, starts sticking little bags of heroin, I want to say. I don't know.
Yeah,
Did they say what it is? Heroin? Yeah. So sticks little bags of heroin inside the doll, sews it back up. Woman grabs it, jumps in a taxi. The man shiftily watches her out the window and immediately makes a phone call.
Mm-hmm. And they lay in a little bit of context for you. Like, the radio in the background is broadcasting first in French and then in English. And it makes mention of, I think, weather locally there in Montreal. So they do a really good, subtle job of letting you know exactly where in the world this is taking place.
Yes. Yes. It's set up very well. So you see this woman. She's going to the airport. You young kids, it used to be a lot easier to get on an airplane. So you see her like walk up, hand her ticket at one counter, goes to another counter where she hands off her passport. They sort of look in her bag, not really, and she's on her way. That's it.
It was about as much of a check as when you go to a concert and they kind of like peek in your purse.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, you would not even be able to tell what's at the bottom of my bag, but fine.
Right? Sometimes I'm like, I kind of want to hide a knife, see if anybody finds it. No, I don't.
Your mind goes to violence, my mind goes to drugs.
That's fair.
True to form.
Yeah. So she goes to get on the airplane. She walks out onto the tarmac. She's walking up the stairs to the airplane, like old classic movies.
I love this when guy, we used to do that in real life, by the way.
So fun. And this guy drops a bottle of pills. She picks it up and tosses it back to him. These things would never happen with this like stewardess flight attendant standing right there like, oh yeah, great. Everybody's passing around drugs. Good to go. Let's get on the airplane. Not a thing that would happen these days. And then it shows them arrive at JFK. So they're now in New York City. As they're getting off the airplane, the woman with the doll sees a man from afar watching her from the roof. And she gets visibly uncomfortable, starts looking around kind of shifty, like, crap, what am I going to do? They're walking through the airport hallway, and there's no words. You're just hearing music. But the man who dropped his medications, she's like begging him, please just take this doll, take this doll, take this doll. He's finally like, okay, this is weird, whatever. Takes the doll, puts it in his bag, and they separate.
Yeah.
They leave the airport. She goes with the man who is watching her from afar. She looks very nervous, and they just leave.
Yeah.
And the other guy just gets in the taxi and goes home.
And having never seen it before, I was wondering, is she turning this stranger into a drug mule? Did she give him the doll so he could, like, sneak it by airport security on his way out of the airport? I was kind of confused by that. It all made sense by the end.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, that this movie raised a bunch of questions and then it dutifully answered them later.
Yes. And I feel like it sets it up really well, but it also kind of bums me out because I prefer in the stage play, none of this beginning stuff happens.
Oh, where does the play start? And
it just starts with the three men meeting in the apartment. So you have no idea, like, the husband's role in any of it.
Or that there's, like, heroin in the doll.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
None of it. So it leaves this, like, level of suspicion, which is cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, it then cuts to these two men who meet up on the street. The one guy's name is Mike.
Mike looks like he could be Bryan Cranston's dad.
Yeah. Mike is played by Richard Crenna, who is also a very famous in everything fella. Mm-hmm. I always think of him, besides this, as he plays the father in Sabrina, the father of the fiance of, what's his name? Not Harrison Ford, the other one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No, I was totally thinking of Teenage Witch.
Oh, no. Sabrina Fair.
The classic film, yes.
Not the Audrey Hepburn movie, but the remake from the 90s with Harrison Ford and Greg Kinnear. Goodness. So he plays Patrick Tyson, who they want Greg Kinnear to marry his daughter, and so they can merge their companies, this whole big thing. Anyway, so he has some pretty great lines in that movie that my sister and I like to quote. So we love him. Anyway, so he shows up along with a man who throughout the movie we know as Sergeant Carlino. And he is played by Jack Weston, who you might know as the owner of the hotel in Dirty Dancing. Uh-huh. Just saying. He's been in other stuff too, but that's, you know, what I like to think of him as. Anyway, they meet up. They're clearly buddies. Hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you forever. What yada yada. Walk down the street. They're kind of talking about how this is so Lisa. She wants us to meet her at this weird place, whatever. She must be in town. It's like they all know each other, them and this woman, Lisa. Mm-hmm. They get to this apartment. There's a note on the door, like from a typewriter, that says, hey, if I'm not here, the door's open. Come on in and make yourselves at home, Lisa. So they walk in, they start looking around. Sergeant Carlino immediately starts making a sandwich.
Yeah, his definition of make yourself at home is like way over what my limit would be.
Yeah. And Mike is looking around and, you know, checking out all the pictures. The apartment's clearly owned by a photographer. There's like darkroom equipment and pictures everywhere and all that kind of fun stuff. So then
what I liked about the apartment, too, just as an aside.
Oh, yeah. We should kind of describe the apartment a little bit.
They're clearly in New York City because the airport was JFK or an earlier version of it that's all cute and small. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times when you see stuff that takes place in New York, the apartments are gigantic. And you're like, aren't you supposed to be in Manhattan right now? Like, how on earth do you afford this?
Yeah.
Friends, for example.
Yeah.
I know that they've got that cockamamie cover
rent
story
control,
about rent
garbage.
control. It's like, no way could anyone even... Anyway. So I remember, based on my experiences through film and television, I expected people in New York had quite a bit of space. And then we went to go visit Danielle in Brooklyn, and her apartment was very small.
Very small.
And then she told me how much it cost, and I was like, oh, okay, this is real life. So what I liked about this is that their apartment... It's probably still like a little bit unrealistically large, unless he's like a photographer that's really well known and makes good money. But it was a little basement apartment. It was very narrow. It was very compact. Mm-hmm. I felt like they did a reasonably good job of making it seem legit.
Yeah. And it's one of those basement apartments. So you walk in the door, you walk down some stairs, and then you're like in the living room, which had enough space for like a couch and a coffee table. Mm-hmm. That was it. A little table and chairs behind it. There's no room for dining area. So a little tiny table and chairs. And then there's like a little step up into a kitchen. Mm-hmm. Very small kitchen, no counter space. There's like a fridge, a counter, and a little washing machine.
Yeah, washing machine that looked like an ice box.
It was a very old washing machine.
This was in the 60s, and I think the idea was that even for the 60s, the appliances were old.
Yes. She does talk about how her icebox is ancient. Mm-hmm. And then that's all off to the right. Off to the left, there's a little hall, a little kind of dark room space area, and then a bedroom, and that's it.
Yeah, the bedroom looked tiny.
Like enough room for a bed. That's about it. So, and then like above the kitchen counter, there's some windows that look out onto the street, and you can just see feet passing by. They're that far down into the basement. So the guys are in the apartment, and then a third man shows up, and he immediately, like, he walks in, his hair's all dark. He's got dark glasses on, dark leather jacket, and he just immediately, you get the skivvies. Yeah. And it's Alan Alda.
Alan Arkin.
I do it all the time. Alan Alda is the MASH guy. Yeah. Alan Arkin is this guy. Yeah. Goodness. Alan Arkin shows up, and his character is Roat.
Yeah. Which is such a good villain name.
Yeah. Yeah. They establish pretty quickly that they're all using pseudonyms. It's not their real names. And none of them trust each other. Mm-hmm. And they're like, listen, if we're going to talk about stuff, we should put all the weapons on the table, and nobody's going to be the first to do that. And Roat pretty quickly declares, I'm not doing it at all.
Yeah, so he basically introduces himself like he's Lisa's intermediary.
Right.
He works with Lisa, and he has a job for them. It's super simple. All they're going to need to do is help him recover a doll, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And they ask something along the lines of, will we have to hurt anybody? He says no. So you kind of get the feeling that...
Oh, and Mike immediately asks, what's in the doll?
Yes.
And Roat says, here's money for you not to ask that question.
And Mike's like, so we know what's in the doll.
Yeah. Like, clearly they're not idiots.
Yeah. So Roat kind of fills them in on some background that the man who lives in the apartment has the doll, but they can't find it. They know he has it, but they don't know where in the space it is. Mm-hmm. He says he turned the place upside down looking for it and couldn't find it. And Mr. Carlito, is that his name? Carlito?
Sergeant Carlito, yes.
Sergeant Carlito, who is wearing like this big, ridiculous trench coat and this hat, and he just looks like the worst version of an undercover cop ever. Yeah. He immediately points to a big safe that's underneath a tablecloth in the corner and asks, well, did you look in there? And
Roat's
is that what happened?
Yeah, and Roat's pretty much like, well, that's why you guys are here.
Yeah.
Because we need to get in there.
And
they're like, we don't bust into safes.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, this isn't that kind of operation. We're going to, like, talk our way into it. Yeah. That's what you guys are good at.
Which right off the bat, I loved. Mm-hmm. I love a heist. Rick and Morty just did this big episode, like, explaining why heists are terrible. And it was a wonderful episode, but I still love a good heist. Anyway, Mike, who's kind of the more put together of the two guys. You can tell he's a little bit more sharp than Carlito. He's the one who didn't immediately make a sandwich.
Yeah.
He points out there's more than one locked place in this apartment. There's the safe, and then the closet door in the bedroom is also locked. So why on earth would they lock the closet door but not even leave their front door locked? And Roat's like, ha, you got me. Like, definitely, here's the key to the closet. Go look in there.
Yeah.
And when Mike goes to look in the closet, I loved this scene. Mm-hmm. Because Mike opens the closet door, and the shot is from inside the closet. And he's moving hangers around. Kelly was watching the movie with us, and Kelly's like, oh no, there's going to be a dead body in the closet. And as the door behind Mike swings open, and the light hits kind of like a dry cleaning suit bag.
It looks
Not
like a
dress
garment bag.
Yeah, it hits a zip-up garment bag.
Yeah, it's like kind of a foggy garment bag hanging on the door.
The kind of thing that my wedding dress is in downstairs.
Yes.
As the door opens and the light shines on that bag, you see the blonde woman from the beginning of the film is in that bag. Mm-hmm. It was a wonderful reveal. So well done.
And this is one of those creepy moments for me. It's so subtle and it's just there. Roat knows it's in there and just sends him to go look in the closet.
What a maniac.
And you, like, immediately understand this man is unhinged and he is pure evil. Period. End of discussion. Yeah. Right? Like, you're still kind of on the fence about Mike and Carlito. Like, they kind of talk about how they just got their freedom. Like, maybe they just got paroled. So you're like, they're clearly not upstanding citizens, but they could still be good dudes underneath. Right? Roat immediately. You're like, nope. He may be Satan.
Because he's so cool and collected. No normal person would be that calm after having just murdered someone.
Yeah, he has zero fear.
No remorse.
Zero remorse. He's just chilling.
Like a literal villain.
Like a literal villain. So this is one of the best creepy scenes for me because as Mike's looking through the closet, like Caryn said, you just barely catch a glimpse of this dead body and you're like, oh my gosh, he is standing next to a dead body right now. And then he sees it and, you know, is a little horrified, comes out, tells Carlito to go look for himself. Oh, and he unzips it and she pops out.
She like slowly slumps out part way.
And he comes out, tells Carlito to go look for himself. And so they're like, all right, Lisa's dead. Why are we even still here? So
Mike's like, this is not our kind of job.
Oh, yeah.
We're out.
So Mike and Carlito are like, nope. Like, we're not about this. We're not into this. And they start to leave. And Roat says, what about the fact that your fingerprints are everywhere? Somebody's going to come home. They're going to find that body. Nobody knows I've been here. And he's like, we can vouch for our whereabouts at the time. And he's like, at what time?
Yeah.
How long do you know when she died? Do you know how long she's been here? Like, how can you? He's like, your fingerprints are all over the place. Nobody knows I even exist. And then,
which is so deliciously planned.
Because
he left he left them that note. Come in and make yourselves at home. I.e., touch everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So good.
So good. So creepy.
No.
So Roat's whole demeanor changes. Up to this point, he's been a little laid back, chill, kind of trying to give the guys make them feel like they have a little bit of a power. At this point, he sits up and he's like, okay, this is how it's going to happen. You guys are going to get rid of the body. You're going to help me find this doll. And then we're all going to get out of here. That's the only way it's going to work.
And we should mention, too, that when Alan Arkin, a.k.a. Roat, first walked in, he had a giant rug over one shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
That he casually drew no attention to and just sort of slung over the banister.
And like, now nobody asked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, what do you do with that huge rug, huh?
So now he grabs this rug and is like, wrap up the body, throw her in the river. And they're like, well, what about when somebody finds the body? And he's like, all she's going to have on her is a room key to a hotel. That's registered to Mr. Roat Jr. That's it. That's all anybody's going to know.
Yeah. So you get the feeling it's all playing into some grander scheme.
Yep. He's got a big plan and he's done stuff like this before. He knows what he's doing.
And he calls Carlino Sergeant. And Carlino gets a little bit uppity about it. And I was kind of wondering if Carlino was maybe put away for being a dirty cop.
I think that's absolutely the impression that you get, is that he was a dirty cop and he's no longer a cop. But now he can play a cop as a criminal because he knows what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impression. Okay. So they're just about to go take care of the body when when they hear someone coming. And Roat's like,
hide behind the door, come over here.
And nobody even breathe. He already knows the score. He knows that Susie is blind.
Yeah. So Susie, a.k.a. Audrey Hepburn, comes home. And the guys are all visibly nervous, except Roat, who's just chilling. He's just standing there. And she comes home and starts putting things away, and they all just stand there. And this part is so scary to me. Like, as a blind woman, she just comes home. There are 3 criminals in her house, and she has no idea.
Oh, that concept of not knowing what's lurking in plain sight, so to speak. That is a very scary concept, yeah.
Yes. So terrifying to me. So they're just standing there. She has no idea. She's working around her apartment. She goes into her closet to push stuff away, nearly brushes up against the dead body, but doesn't somehow. And she comes out of the bedroom, and Carlito and Mike are looking at each other like, holy crap. And she has no idea. And I think that's so terrifying to me. There's a dead body hanging in her closet. There are 3 criminals in her apartment. She has no idea. It's just, the whole time you're super tense. What is happening? What is gonna...
Yeah, and that whole time they're using the music to build tension, too. Mm-hmm. You told me that little trivia piece.
Yes. So according to the movie trivia, the composer, Henry Mancini...
What?
Mancini?
Henry Mancini composed this?
Yes, he did.
He did all the best music.
Uh-huh.
He did the Pink Panther theme.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Right on.
He's rad. So he had 2 pianists, Pearl Kaufman and Jimmy Rolls, if that makes any difference to anyone, playing their instruments tuned a quarter tone apart. It says, initially uncertain as to whether this would achieve the desired end, Mancini was reassured in short order when just after a few takes of the main title, Kaufman turned to him and said, "Hank, can we take a break? This is making me ill." "She made my day," the composer recalled fondly. The device was working. So...
I love that there's someone who's on good enough terms to call him Hank.
Yeah. So cute. But yeah, so they played them just enough off of each other that it felt wrong. And so it puts you on edge, which I love when a movie score can do that all on its own.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's really great.
It is so well done.
Yeah.
He did the theme for Peter Gunn. He just did everything.
He's really great. I'm a big fan. Let's see. So yeah, she nearly brushes up against the dead body. The music is making y'all... Ugh.
So she comes back out of the bedroom and uses the phone. And they're all just still standing there.
Yeah.
Like
listening to her on the telephone.
Yeah. And she calls a number, and you can kind of hear her husband on the other end of the line. And she's very happy and smiling and telling her husband, "Hey, I was the best student at blind school today. I'm really proud of myself." He's proud of her, too. It sort of sets up that his expectation of her is that she's going to be a very, very self-sufficient blind person, and that she is, in her own words later, the
world champion blind person.
The world champion blind lady.
Yeah.
But she drops a lot of personal information during the phone call that you can immediately tell Alan Arkin, even though you can't see his eyes because he has those glasses on, you can tell that the little computer in his brain is just whirring, and he's pulling every little piece of information that she's dropping and tucking it into his plan.
Yep.
So after she hangs up the phone with him, she goes to leave the apartment to go hang out at a coffee shop and wait for him to come home.
Yes, that's right.
And she's going up the stairs, and she's passing so close to Mike, who is sort of hiding behind the door.
Yeah.
And she stops and says, Gloria, I know you're in here," and doesn't get an answer and leaves. So she definitely senses someone in the apartment, but she misattributes it.
Yeah. So she leaves. They all kind of breathe a sigh of relief and then leave the apartment as well. Right?
Yeah,
Do they talk a little bit?
They all breathe a sigh of relief, and then they grab the rug and presumably go off to get
go
Lisa out of the
body. So it cuts to Audrey and her husband. Sorry, Susie and her husband, whose name is Sam. Goodness.
I'll never forget that.
Susie and Sam.
Whenever she calls to Sam in a moment of distress, it sounds just like Cloris Leachman in the made-up movie that they're watching in The Office, when Cloris Leachman is dating Jack Black. And do you remember that? Yeah. She just keeps calling Sam. Anyway.
So funny.
So her husband's name is Sam.
Her husband's name is Sam. So they're in the apartment. Sam is a photographer, so he's developing some pictures. He tells her he's developing pictures of Gloria, who is the little girl who comes over and helps with errands and things. And Susie's basically like, I hate Gloria. She's the worst. I don't like her. And Sam's like, cut her some slack, and gives us this whole backstory. Gloria's dad left her. Her mom takes off on her. She's alone. Not to mention she's getting bullied because now she's wearing glasses for the first time. And Susie's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't like her.
She's pretty firm on it.
Yeah.
And Sam's explaining that the kids are calling Gloria an alien because she wears glasses.
Something like that.
Something
so ridiculous.
So very 60s that I couldn't even put together how that could possibly be an insult.
So funny. But she hates Gloria. He's like, please just take it easy here on Gloria. And Susie's like, fine. And says the great line where she's like, Sam, are you looking at me? And he's like, yeah. And she sticks her tongue out at him, which I thought was so cute. She has to ask him if he's looking at her first. And then Sam goes off. I think he says he's meeting someone for a photo shoot far away. He has to take the train. He's going to be gone all day. He'll be home late.
Yeah, he's going to Ashby Park or something.
Yeah, which I don't know. But Danielle, you get the idea. He's going to be gone for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he leaves, Mike comes. And right after he leaves, Susie starts to smell smoke and fire, and she panics hard because she's blind. She can't see where it's coming from. She mentions a little later that a fire from a car crash is what made her go blind. So you get the impression she's got PTSD happening. She doesn't want anything to do with fire. So she smells fire, starts freaking out, calls the police, and she's like, help me, I'm blind, there's smoke, I can't tell where it's coming from. And the operator on the other end's like, give me your address, we'll send someone over. And just then, Mike shows up, knocks on the door, and she's like, somebody's at the door, I don't know who it is. And she just lets him in because there's a fire happening.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's pretty lucky for Mike, too, because the fire happened because Sam had been smoking a cigarette and put it out in an ashtray that presumably also maybe had something lightly flammable in there. So that wasn't planned by them, but it definitely gave Mike an expedient way to get inside the apartment without her asking too many questions.
I'm trying to remember. I would maybe have to watch again. Are we sure Roat didn't do anything to the ashtray?
He might have. He's a ridiculously clever man.
Anyway, so there's a little fire. Mike comes in, puts the fire out, tells her it was just in the ashtray. He introduces himself. He says, hey, I'm Mike. I'm a friend of Sam's. We were in the Marines together.
Mm-hmm. Because earlier, when Mike had been poking around the apartment while his buddy, the sergeant, was making a sandwich, Mike was actually doing some recon, and he found a photo of the Charlie Company, which apparently Sam was in.
Yeah. So they start talking. He drops enough information. I love the way that they do this as they come into the apartment because they say things with their voice that don't match what their face is doing. Mm-hmm. So he's like watching her to make sure she's believing what he's saying. And he's like, oh, hey, look, here's a picture of me with Sam. Because he already knew there was a picture of the
Charlie
squadron.
Company, yeah.
I don't know what do you call it. He was a Marine, not a pilot. Yeah, I'm used to pilot terms. So his military unit. So he's like, oh, hey, look, here's a picture of me, and, says all this stuff. And she immediately just starts bonding with him. Oh, friend of Sam's, great, super. He helped her put out a fire. Great. Let's be best friends, basically.
Yeah, basically.
And he's a nice guy. He's nice. He's charming.
Yeah.
Oh, so Mike leaves a package somewhere where Susie won't accidentally come across it. It's like in between the table and the couch. Not something that she's going to accidentally come across with her hands. And he leaves. Mm-hmm. So you can tell it's a setup, but he just leaves. Says, oh, I'll, have to call next time I'm in from Phoenix, and just walks out. Then Gloria shows up, and she's like, hey, where's the grocery list and the money for the market? I'll go get your groceries, whatever. And Susie tells her where to find the money. And then
Gloria was supposed to help Susie defrost the refrigerator, but it had to be Sam's way. And Susie says, well, I'll just set it to defrost and it'll be done. So they're bickering about whether or not Susie should do it.
Like, what's the best way to do it?
Gloria leaves the refrigerator door open, lies to Susie, says, oh, no, it's closed, and then refuses to come back and close it, even though Susie could tell. She could hear that it hadn't been closed. Mm-hmm. And that's when Susie says, come back and close it, you little monster. And Gloria has a hormone fueled
meltdown and just starts throwing crap all over the floor, screaming. It's like she's been possessed. She's just freaking out.
Yeah.
She stops, and Susie like, lets her finish, just kind of stands there. And then very calmly and coolly starts trying to pick everything up off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And Gloria comes over and starts helping her. And Susie's like, is anything broken? And Gloria's like, no, I only throw the stuff that doesn't break. Mom taught me how.
How considerate.
Like, I do it just like Mom. I don't throw the breakables. Like, oh, that poor girl's home life. This is the trick she's learned. And they have a good heart-to-heart.
They do. Gloria says, you shouldn't have called me a name.
And
Susie's up to that.
Like, you're right. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. And
they bond a little bit.
She says, sometimes I get cranky because it's really hard to be blind. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm tired of seeing brown and I get frustrated sometimes and I'm sorry if I get cranky. And Gloria's like, basically, at least you're gorgeous. You've got that going for you. And Susie's like, well, she's like, I don't even know what I look like, though. Sometimes I'm worried I look like a freak or something. I can't remember what she says. And Gloria's like, oh, don't worry. You're gorgeous. It's fine. And they have a hug and it's really cute.
And it's very cute.
So they bond and Gloria's like, I'll run to the market for you and then I'll come back. No worries. Like, they're super besties. And Susie's just like, great, thanks. And she leaves. So then Roat shows up disguised as an old man. And he, like, bursts into the apartment. He's freaking out. He's screaming, yelling for someone named Sam Hunt and Mrs. Roat. And he just screams, runs around, messes with a bunch of stuff, and leaves.
Takes their wedding picture and leaves. Susie's rattled. Obviously, she's home alone. She has no idea who this person is that just stormed into her apartment, caused all this ruckus, and left. So as she's there, all shook up, Mike shows up again, and he's like, hey, Susie, it's Mike. I left a package here. And she's like, oh, Mike, you're here. Thank goodness. Please help me. Someone was just here. I don't know what's happening. And Mike's like, oh, let me help you. And he calls the police. But what he really does is call the phone booth, so Sergeant Carlino comes over. Mm-hmm. So Sergeant Carlino comes over, takes a look around, takes a phone call from the station, big air quotes,
where he drops words about a doll and how they have Mr. Roat, and he wants to know about a doll, something. Mm-hmm. And then he gets off the phone and he kind of starts grilling Susie.
Yeah.
Like, do you know where your husband is? Are you sure? Like, why, things like that, kind of bringing her husband into it, and she's getting pretty upset.
Yeah,
and
she's so rattled.
Mike steps in, and this is another one of those moments where their faces don't match their words. So they're kind of having this bickering match back and forth, Carlino and Mike, where Mike's saying, hey, leave her alone, but, like, looking at Carlino with an eyebrow up, like, do you think she's buying it? And Carlino's like, don't tell me what to do, and, like, giving him face signals back. And so it was one of those really well done scenes where, like, I mean, really, their voices are angry, but their faces are not angry. And they're, like, talking to each other with their facial expressions. And I really love that they do that through the whole movie.
Because they're con men.
Yes.
A successful con person has to be a good actor.
They're watching her, making sure she's eating it all up. You can see her getting visibly upset. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it's working. Let's keep doing this.
And they have a bunch of secret signals. One of them keeps going over and messing with the blinds, and that signals the person in the phone booth to call inside. Mm-hmm. And their little scheme is very well developed, and they're executing it very well.
Yes. They're laying all kinds of subtle little traps about the doll and Mr. Roat and Sam and just everything. So Mike gets Carlino to leave, and Susie tells him, like, Mike, there was a doll. Sam brought a doll home. And he's like, really? Where is it? Like, thinking, hey, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, we'll get it.
And she's like, I don't know. She's like, some woman at the airport gave it to him. We tried to find it. We couldn't find it. But I know that he brought one home. And Mike's like, well, I can help you find it. And she's like, I think we need to find it, to prove he's innocent. Like, she's like, I think the sergeant thinks he's involved. We have to find the doll to prove he's innocent. Mm-hmm. Just then someone knocks on the door again. And it's Roat again. In disguise. This time he's wearing, like, a blonde wig and glasses.
And a little blonde beard. And it made me... I don't know if he was doing that stuff for the benefit of neighbors or if it was just force of habit because he's used to pulling cons on people with sight.
I think it was for the benefit of the neighbors.
Yeah.
And because they talk about how there's a little girl with glasses who comes in and helps out.
Yeah.
So I think it's in case Gloria sees them.
Yeah.
He changed his appearance.
It was so thorough.
Yes.
But as soon as he starts walking down the stairs, you can hear his shoes squeak.
Mm-hmm.
And Susie totally tenses up.
Yep. She knows immediately that it's the same guy from before.
Yeah, or at least the same pair of shoes,
Or
which
at
would
least
be
the same
very
pair of
weird.
shoes, yes. So he comes in, he introduces himself as Harry Roat Jr. He says he's looking for his father, who is very upset because he thinks his wife is cheating on him with a photographer named Sam Hunt, that they had met previously on a trip, and they just got back from Canada, and she fled with her doll that plays a little tune, and he sings the tune, and she is so tense because she's like, that's the doll.
Yeah,
I
you
know
can tell
that's
she
the doll.
recognizes the
Yeah.
tune.
She says, sorry, there's no Sam Hunt here. And Mike and Roat are kind of doing that look at each other, gauge her reaction, push it a little farther thing, because they can tell that they're upsetting her. And the phone rings again.
Yeah, because Roat had fiddled with the blinds.
Yes, Roat had fiddled with the blinds. The phone rings again. And it's the air quotes police station. They have his father. And then they ask him about his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, no, my wife didn't come home last night. And they talk about earlier. Oh, I think when Carlino was here, he talks about how there was a body found in the river earlier, which is Lisa, obviously. So Roat's like, oh, my wife didn't come home. And then his voice does this very upset, oh no, not my wife. He drops the phone and he runs out.
Mm-hmm.
So they totally play up. The wife is dead. The doll is missing. So she's like, we have to find this doll. We have to clear Sam's name.
Yeah, she's definitely picking up what they're laying down and putting all the
Yes.
pieces together. And Mike is nudging her in the direction that
Yes.
the only thing that ties your husband to this missing woman is this doll. And if we can find it and make sure that we hide it somewhere really good or destroy it or something, then your husband will be in the clear. But if we can't find it, then it's out there somewhere and the police will find it and connect your husband with Lisa and think that he killed her.
Yes. So they start looking for the doll. Susie starts asking him questions like, is my apartment dusty? And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, Sergeant Carlino kept dusting everything. And Mike pulls a face like, holy crap, she gets, you know.
She noticed.
She noticed way more than I thought she did. And then she's like, is the sun shining weird? Everyone keeps messing with the blinds. Are the blinds doing something weird? Like, she's asking all these questions, and Mike's like, holy crap. And you can tell he's kind of like panicked about it, but he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, trying to convince her she's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, terrifying. He's building her trust and trying to convince her all of her valid fears and womanly instincts are right, and he's trying to convince her they are not.
Yeah, gaslighting's
Which-
a real thing.
Yeah. Totally, totally scary to me. But I'm definitely one of those people who the scariest monsters for me are like real life monsters.
Oh,
not
definitely.
like I don't get scared by any of the other like monster movies per se. Freddy Krueger never really terrified me, but crap like this does.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just where we differ. So yeah, Mike tries to convince her she's crazy. She kind of lets it go. He starts asking, what about the safe? Could the doll be in the safe? And she's like, no, the safe isn't even ours. And he's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, when we bought the apartment, like the safe was just here. And we told the woman who sold it to us wanted us to buy the safe and we didn't want to. She got mad. She locked it. We can't even open it. We don't have, and left it here.
Yeah,
Like
she says she dropped the key down the drain outside.
yeah, like she's like, we don't even have the combination. We can't get into it.
Yeah.
And Mike's like, great. Because I think he was just, they all were hoping it's just going to be in the safe and then everything's going to be fine.
And he doesn't
Nope.
believe her. He thinks that she's
Yeah.
protecting the contents of the safe by pretending that she can't even get inside.
When he keeps saying things like, well, you know, why would you trust me? I'm just a stranger. And she's like, no, you're more than that.
And he did such a good job bonding with her because
Yes.
he says, oh, Sam saved my life. And she's like, Sam saved my life. But as soon as she starts saying, no, we can't get in the safe, And as soon as she stops giving him what he wants, he starts pulling away, putting on his jacket. I'm going to get out of here. And it was just pretty masterful, this little con. So
yes. So he starts saying he's going to leave, and he's like, I got to catch a flight. I got to get out of here. And she's like, well, how can I get a hold of you? Like, if I find it.
After some resistance,
he's like, okay, I'll give you my number. Gives her the number for the phone booth.
Yeah.
So she writes it down with her little cool Braille notebook thing, which I thought was so rad. She can like put in the numbers, and it makes the little Braille imprint for her. That's like, I love how that all works, and I love that she can do that.
Well, it's stuff that as a person with sight you don't think about.
Right.
Like, how would you write down a number to remember? So they showed you how that works, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I liked it. So Gloria comes back, and she brings the doll, and she tries to just sneak it into the apartment and like hide it under the couch, but the sound goes off, and Susie hears it. She kind of gets in a fight with Gloria, and then she's like, Gloria, somebody wants to hurt Sam. The doll, like, is part of that. I'm not mad at you, but I need you to do me a big favor. Like, I need you to watch out the window. And and Mike had told her that there was a cop car outside.
Yeah.
And so she asks Gloria to go look and see if the cop car's outside. She thinks Roat is one of the cops, and Carlino's out there. She wants Susie to go see if they're both out there. And
yeah, she's putting together way more than the con men expect her to, because she's so much more observant. And so you get the feeling that she's worried that the police are maybe railroading Sam for something, because she says, I keep forgetting the most important thing is that I know Sam.
Yes.
And so she's confident that her husband didn't have anything to do with this.
Right. So Gloria goes and looks out the window, and she's like, there's no cop car out there. She's like, are you sure? Because Mike had told her that there was one, and she trusts Mike. And she's like, yeah, no, there's nothing out there. There's a van out there. Or a truck, I think she calls it.
She calls it a truck, but to me it looked like a Volkswagen bus.
Yeah, I think it was a van. And so Susie says, I need you to do me a big favor. It's really dangerous. And Gloria's like, whoopee.
Yeah, she's all about it.
She is like all for it. She's like, whatever you need. And she's like, I need you to watch out the window. And if anyone uses the phone booth next to that van, call here, let it ring twice, and then hang up.
Yeah.
And she's like, cool, like a secret code. And Susie's like, exactly like a secret code. And then she's like, okay, I'm going. Susie, just tap on the pipes if you need me, and I'll come back down. And Susie's like, awesome, great, thank you. Gloria leaves.
She's a clever little kid. I picture her upstairs with her little glasses on all the time, reading Nancy Drew mysteries and basically living for this moment.
Yes. Well, and she says something like, oh no, that's later. But she's like, I wish exciting things like this happened every day. And Susie's just like, no. But Gloria goes upstairs, starts watching out the window. Sergeant Carlino comes back and upsets Susie more. He's just like really pushy. Your husband's involved. We need the doll. Tell us where everything is. And Susie's just like, she hides the doll in the washing machine, in the garbage.
In the washing machine. Yeah, she and Gloria hide theirs again.
Sergeant Carlino's like, I need you to tell me. She's like, I want to speak to Roat. And he's like, what? And she like picks up the phone and she's like, I'm going to call the police station. I want to speak to Roat. And Carlino's like, no, that's okay. I'll get him on the phone for you.
Yeah, because she's dialing the operator and asking for the police station.
Yeah.
And Carlino's like, no. I'll just dial direct and we'll get connected.
We'll get in. So she talks to Roat, and she says, I've talked to my lawyer, and you can't talk to me like this. Like, if you're going to come after my husband, you have to do it through my lawyer, basically. And Carlino the whole time's kind of eyeing her, and he's like, I'm not scared of your lawyer. And she's just standing there all confident. And it's like he can't really read the situation. You can tell he's kind of taken aback a little. Yeah,
because it is a very strange thing to do, to call this person and be like, I know you think my husband murdered. Like, it was weird. And
it was a little out of place.
And out of place on purpose, because her whole point was just to see
are they connected? Are they using the phone booth?
Yeah.
Right?
She's just as clever as Roat.
The second she hangs up the phone, Carlino's like walking out the door. He's halfway up the stairs, and the phone rings again, and he turns back, and she sits there and lets it ring twice, and then it doesn't ring anymore. And then she's like, they must have hung up. And he's like, okay, and just leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, suspicion confirmed. They're working together.
Yeah. And so she's all excited to share her information with Mike.
Yes. And I think at this point, she's like, I need Mike to help me because I don't know what to do. These guys are working together. So she calls Mike at the phone number he gave her, and she's like, Mike, I need you to come over. I found the doll. I know where it is. Please come help me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I will run as fast as I can. I'll be there. So
run across the street.
Right? So he's clearly kind of killing time a little bit. The second they hang up the phone rings twice again.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, she just loses it. She's like, crap, Mike's a part of this too.
Yeah, her one ally that she thought she had
Yep.
is actually against her.
Which, again, whole terrifying of a who do you trust, who do you not trust? I also was thinking about, because it happens in movies all the time, that a man meets a woman, they go through some sort of traumatic event together, they bond, they completely trust each other, like, more than anything else in this world, and it always ends up working out. And this is one of those situations where they go through something together, they completely trust each other, but it's all a lie.
Yeah, well, what I liked about this,
so
too,
it kind of rips the rug out from under you a little bit.
Yeah, you can tell Mike is definitely falling for her a teensy bit. Mm-hmm. She is very pretty, obviously. She's
and
Aubrey
just
Hepburn.
Really kind, and yeah.
Yeah. I think I just called her Aubrey Hepburn. That's not important. And she's obviously very intelligent and very just sharp. I mean, we're falling in love with her.
Right.
Mike can't help but fall in love with her. He's right there.
Right.
And he's a criminal, but...
Criminal with a heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He has his own lines that he won't cross. And
yes.
So lots of great character development there. And so it definitely felt like a twist of the knife when you had been starting to like Mike a little bit. The more Mike likes Susie, the more you like Mike.
Yes.
And so when she's shattered because he has betrayed her, like he's been against her the whole time, that was really effective.
Yes, absolutely. And you're shattered too.
Yeah.
When he's like this nice, charismatic, good-looking guy, and you're like, no, I just want him to be a good guy.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping that he'll, like, turn on his co-conspirators and end up helping her or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of another Audrey Hepburn movie, Charade, where she's with Cary Grant, and kind of the same deal. Like, people are missing and turning up dead, and she meets this stranger who is lying to her and keeps having different names because he's not who he says he is, but yet she still trusts him and falls in love with him by the end of the movie. And it's so opposite of that, because here's this person who's been lying to her, and the whole time you're like, yeah, because he's a liar and a criminal. And it's like, you don't want her to trust him the whole time, but at the same time you're like, I'd probably trust him.
Oh, that's the crazy thing. I mean, this movie came out in 1967, and it's more relevant today than it ever was back then, because scam artists have such easier access to us now, and I had to switch on a special setting on my phone just so it wouldn't ring every 10 minutes with some scam artist trying to claim that they were the IRS trying to get money from me, or that I'm under arrest or something like that. And you hear all the time about people losing tens of thousands of dollars to these con men. Mm-hmm. And it's the same deal. They worm into your life and they get you to trust them and to think that they're your way out of something.
They're a Nigerian prince who just needs a little money, and
just
then
a little help.
They'll send you extra back.
Yeah.
For sure. So once she realizes that Mike and Carlino and Roat are all working together, she's kind of just like, all right, I'm going to have to fight. So be it. Like... She kind of gets this resolve face, you know? So Mike comes and talks to her while... My throat just made a really weird noise.
It did, kind of.
Well...
Like a ghost sound.
Roat and Carlino are standing in the doorway. And so Mike walks in and he's like, hey, you found the doll. And she's like, I don't know why I didn't think about it before. It's got to be in Sam's office. Mm-hmm. There's a really big desk against the far wall. It's like one of the rolling desks. You'll know it. It has to be in there.
Yeah, she says Gloria was at Sam's studio and saw the doll there. Mm-hmm. And Mike's asking, are you sure? And she
You're
says,
positive, because I think at this point he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her, and he knows it will if she doesn't give him the doll.
yeah, he knows basically the longer this goes on, the more likely Roat is to do something sinister.
Yes.
And she says, of course I'm positive I'm saving Sam's life, aren't I?
Yeah. So she gives him the keys to Sam's office, sends him on the way. The whole time, Roat is standing by the door, pulling on some kind of wire.
Yeah.
And you're not really sure what he's doing. He's like tying it to the banister on the stairs. And you're like, what is homeboy doing? But you don't really know at this point.
Yeah, this was a very tense scene for me because he's pulling up that wire. You can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
I was convinced that he was about to strangle her with something.
Yes.
Like, they got the information that they wanted, and that he wasn't even going to bother verifying it because he's so unhinged. He was just going to jump down and strangle her with some kind of fire.
Absolutely what you're afraid he's going to do. So all three of them leave. Mm-hmm. They leave Carlino outside, keeping watch, and Mike and Roat take off up the street to the studio. Susie bangs on the pipes, and Gloria comes down, and she's like,
3 times. Yeah, sorry.
On the ceiling if you want me. So Gloria comes running down, and Susie's like, I have to send you on a super secret mission. Who's, like, is anyone outside? And she's like, yeah, that cop guy.
The one who was looking in the window
in the window earlier. Yeah. And Susie's like, have you ever met him? And she's like, no. And she's like, okay, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go to the bus station. Do you know where the bus station is? And she's like, no. And she gives her money, and she says, hop in a taxi. The taxi driver will know. Go to the bus terminal, wait for Sam, tell him what's happening, bring Sam back here. Sam will know what to do. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay. And that's when she's like, I wish stuff like this would happen every day. And Susie's just like, you have no idea what's happening right now. But she's like, great, fine, go. And I think it's kind of a like, that keeps Gloria safe, and it gets Sam to me as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because how else in the time before cell phones are you supposed to get a hold of your husband when he's on a bus? Right? Like, you have to send the neighbor kid to stand there and wait for the bus. Mm-hmm. So.
And she says, once you're past the door safely, I'll call the cops.
Yeah.
So she's definitely getting Gloria out of the way.
And Gloria's like, I'll make some noise, let you know I'm okay, and I'll go. So Gloria goes to leave. She packs up. She's got her little rain slicker on. She looks adorable. Carlino stops her and starts going through her bag. And Gloria's just like, do you want to buy some Girl Scout cookies? I get points if you buy cookies. Like, going on. And Carlino's just like, no. And so, like, hands her back her bag, and she goes off, and she takes her umbrella and, like, hits it against the rail outside the window. So it does that, like, as you go. And so Susie's like, awesome. She's safe. She's gone. Great. Mm-hmm. And Susie picks up the phone. She's going to call the police. There's no dial tone. So she follows the wire, and you find out, it was the phone line that Roat cut. Susie realizes that the phone line has been cut, and she starts to panic, and then she makes a plan. She's a world-class blind lady. Mm-hmm. So she starts smashing all the light bulbs in the apartment, or taking them out. I think she's smashing them.
Yeah, she unscrews them all and smashes them on the ground.
Like, yeah. So she's
not messing around.
She's not messing around. She also gets some of the film developing chemicals and dumps out the water in one of the plants and fills the pot with the chemical.
Yeah.
And then she even goes out in the hall, smashes all the lights in the hallway, so that there's no lights in the apartment. And she closes the blinds. They have, I'm assuming, really thick blinds to make it a dark room.
Yeah, they kind of showed that earlier when she was helping her husband develop some stuff.
Yeah. So she puts down the dark room blinds. So as the audience, you're like, sweet, the blind lady's gonna like...
She's removing the advantage that they have over her.
Yes. Yeah. She's trying to level the playing field.
Yeah.
So Mike comes back, and she is just chilling in a chair holding her cane. Mm-hmm. And he walks in and he says, how long have you known? And she's like, since I called you, basically. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to break it down for you, Susie. We need the doll. We need it now. Give me the doll. And he's like, there are mean people in this world, and they're going to do bad things to you and to Sam. You need to give me the doll.
Yeah.
And she's just like, nope. She says she knows Roat is the evil one. And
because she asks Mike if he killed who she believes is named like Luciana Roat or something.
Yeah.
And he says no, and she asks, did Roat kill her? And he says, it doesn't matter, which is about as good of a yes you're gonna
And
get.
so she's basically like, okay, Roat did it.
Mm-hmm. And I should say at this point, I haven't taken notes in a while.
Yeah. Caryn is completely engrossed in the movie, and she's like, crap, I haven't taken any notes. And I'm like, I got you, it's fine.
Yeah, because Jill's seen it so many times she could do it from memory.
Yes.
And she's still taking her notes. But I was just enjoying the movie so much, I couldn't even remember that I was supposed to be reviewing it. So
yeah, it's that good, which has happened to me on numerous occasions. So this time it happened to Caryn. So she says, I know Roat's the evil one. And Mike says, he is. That's why we had to get rid of him. Flash to the parking lot. You see someone walk into a parking lot. A car runs them over like 9 times. so many times. Like, hits the person, backs up, hits him again, backs up, hits him again, like, for a while.
But they do it in that very 60s way where you don't actually see a person getting run over, really.
Right.
You see tires moving back and forth. You see the car hitting the fence again and again and again.
Yeah.
And you kind of see something flopping around underneath the foot of the car a little bit.
But it's not gory in the slightest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike starts being nice to her. I mean, he's still just really nice to her. And he's like, you know, you really are a world champ blind lady.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just really sweet. And he's like, we're just going to leave you.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need the doll. It's fine. It's over. We're like, we killed Roat. We're just going to leave.
Yeah.
You don't deserve this, basically. Yeah. So he's in the doorway, calls her world-class blind lady. The hallway's still dark outside. As he's standing in the doorway, Roat comes up behind him, stabs him in the back.
Yeah.
So, and he falls down the stairs. And she's like, Mike, what's happening? And he's dead. He's dead at the bottom of the stairs. So then she hears Roat's shoe as he's coming down the stairs. And she's like, oh no, it's you. It's Roat. And he starts spilling gas everywhere. And she's like, what are you doing? And then he doesn't say a word. And she just smells it.
Yeah. And as he's pouring gas with one hand, he's ripping off his shoes with the other and tossing them in different parts of the room.
Yeah.
So that she can't hear him.
Yeah.
And when he finally gets up behind her and talks to her, it totally makes her jump. She had no idea where he was anymore.
Mm-hmm. And she smells the gasoline. She knows what he's doing. So he starts to light matches. She is terrified and she says, okay, you win. I'll get you the doll.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, great. She tries to just run out the door and trips over Mike's dead body.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roat says, I hope you're not planning on your husband coming to save you. Someone was there to meet him when he got off the bus and told him his wife's been in an accident. He's on the way to the hospital. He's been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's going to take him a long time to get to the hospital and then get to you. So don't plan on him anytime soon. And so she's all freaked out. He starts kind of torturing her. He has this really light scarf he's rubbing against her face, and she's freaking out because she has no idea what it is. Touches her with his gloved hand, which is like in a plastic glove.
Yeah, he's a big fan of those plastic gloves.
She's just like crying and screaming, what is that? And he's like, it's just my hand, you know, and totally just messing with her and torturing her.
Yeah, he's a sadist.
He's awful. She says, Roat, are you looking at me? And he's like, yeah. And she grabs the pot that she had put
the
chemicals
developing
in
solution
and splashes it on his face.
I loved that so much.
And
the
he
call
starts
back to the "Are you looking at me?"
Yeah, it's so fabulous. She then also runs to the darkroom. She had one light on, and she rips that light off, so the whole apartment's now dark. And he starts striking matches. She can hear the matches. She can smell the smoke a little bit. And he's like, if you don't want this whole place to go up in flames, give me the doll. She grabs the gasoline and starts throwing it on him. And everything goes dark, and you can just hear him going, no, stop. And you hear the splashing and him like almost drowning in it.
And he's shouting, I said stop, like I'm not lighting the matches.
Yeah. And so she covers him in gasoline, and then she's like, I have your knife. and your matches. And so she starts lighting the matches, like, to menace him. And he's like, I'm all the way over here. I'm not going to touch you. Like, please stop. She tells him to pick up the cane and to tap loudly so she knows where he is. So he's down. He's in the living room. She starts going up the stairs. She can hear him just tap, tap, tap. All the lights go out. You hear her get to the top of the stairs. She's trying to open the door, and you can tell she finds out that it's chained. Mm-hmm. He's chained it as he came in. So she's pulling. She finds out it's chained. She just starts crying, and she's like, crap.
And then the room fills with light.
Because Roat has opened the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm. Clever girl.
And yeah. So she hears that noise, that hum of the refrigerator door open, and she's like, crap, the fridge. Like, she realizes she missed a light.
Yeah.
So he puts a towel in the crack of the fridge so it will stay open. And he goes towards the stairs, and he's got this cane. He uses the crook of the cane to grab her neck, and he basically pulls her down the stairs. Like, he says, come down the stairs. And she comes down the stairs, and he's like, give me the doll. And so she walks over. She's hidden the doll under the garbage in the garbage can, like under the sack of garbage. So she picks it up. She gives him the doll, and he grabs it and starts playing the song on the doll. And while he does that, she grabs a knife out of the dish drainer and kind of hides it at her side. Mm-hmm. And he cuts open the doll, grabs all the heroin, puts it in his pockets. And then he's like, okay, get to the bedroom. And she's like, you said you weren't going to hurt me. And he's like, I guess I had my fingers crossed. And so they're heading to the bedroom, and she stabs him. Mm-hmm. Which is so freaking awesome.
Yeah, that scene was really cool, too, because they're walking away from the refrigerator and towards the bedroom. So it's getting darker and darker and darker. And the scene where she stabs him, you can tell something has happened. They're struggling. It's not immediately clear what happened. And then he slumps to the floor with a knife in his belly. And she's pretty shook, as you would be after you're shoving a knife in someone's belly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, she's clearly never hurt anyone in her life.
Yeah.
So she stabs him. She runs back up the stairs. She tries to get out. She can't get out. She's yelling for help. She's trying to just pry open the door and yell for help. No one can hear her. She's like, okay, I'm going to try and go out the window. She goes down the stairs past Mike's body. And just the way she cries every time she has to pass Mike's body is like heart-wrenching and terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Like, she makes this noise that just scares the crap out of me. So she starts walking into the living room to go to the kitchen windows, and Roat leaps at her from where the bedroom is, out of the pure darkness. Kelly screamed. It was amazing. And
the jump scares always get Kelly every time.
It was beautiful. So Roat jumps out of the bedroom, grabs at her ankle, and she's like freaking out. She kind of kicks him off and runs over to the fridge. She's trying to shut the refrigerator door, and she can't get it to shut. He, in the meanwhile, he can't stand up, but he's like using the knife to claw his way across the floor. Like, he stabs out with his one arm and kind of pulls himself in just this creepy, he's got this crazed look on his face, and he's
at this point, he's a wild animal.
It's insane. And she's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So she can't get the door to shut on the fridge. She hasn't figured out there's a towel in the crack of the fridge. So she starts pulling the fridge door shut in front of her, and she was like, oh, the plug is back here. So she starts pulling on the plug for their fridge, and he like knocks over the kitchen hutch, and he's coming at her, and she pulls the light on the fridge. Everything goes dark. She screams. That's it. So then the police arrive outside, and her husband and Sam like jumps out of the car, goes running in. He's screaming, Susie, Susie. They have to like break down the door. They walk in the department. The apartment is pitch black. And this is another one of those, like, I can't imagine as a husband, like, You have no idea if your wife is alive at this point, and you're walking into a pitch black apartment, like just hoping she's still alive somehow. So you walk in, they find a dead body at the bottom of the stairs. Everything is broken. There's a mess everywhere. He's like calling out for Susie. She doesn't say anything. And he's like, I have light bulbs in the bedroom. And he grabs some extra light bulbs and he puts some in a lamp. They kind of light up. There's another dead body in the kitchen, which is Roat.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's got the hatch like on top of him.
Yeah, they still can't find Susie. Gloria comes down the stairs, which who lets the child in the crime scene? But whatever. So
she
Gloria comes down the stairs,
chalk up a body. She's
completely unfazed by the dead body. And starts screaming for Susie. Susie emerges from behind the fridge door, and Gloria runs to help her, and Sam stands back, and he's like, Susie, I'm over here, and makes her like navigate through all of the like overthrown furniture and dead bodies to come to him. Like he's like, nope, you can do it. And he's standing there all proud with tears in his eyes as she like makes her way over to him. And it's really cute. And he's like, you really are a champion blind lady or whatever. And she's like, are you proud of me? And he's like, I'm so proud of you. And it was like a really cute moment. But at the same time, you're like, can you not help her out for a second? Like-
yes. This part made me very angry at Sam. This is why this aspect of his personality is why for a minute there during the movie I was kind of hoping that, I don't know, maybe Mike would turn out to be a good guy and then she'd fall in love with him and then she could not be married to Sam. Because I get it. You want the people that are struggling through things to become self-sufficient so that they can feel empowered, etc. But there are moments.
Right.
Like when your wife is in an apartment with
full of
two dead
bodies.
Men, and it reeks of gasoline, and she's clearly been through something. And also, she's blind, and there's shit everywhere, and like furniture's been knocked over, and you expect
Gloria,
her to...
the little girl, is helping her, but no, you just expect her to...
Yeah, like under far less dire circumstances, I would rush to Kelly because I would not be able to resist throwing my arms around him. But Sam's just like, oh, come on, girl, you can get over here.
You can make it. Yeah, no, that pissed me off too. Yeah. So
Team
little
Mike,
rough.
Basically.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that. Team Mike. So movie ends. Audrey Hepburn's amazing. Couple of tidbits. So Audrey Hepburn, like, unofficially retired after this movie. She didn't make another movie until, I think it was Robin and Marion, which is a Sean Connery movie she made wherein... a movie she made with Sean Connery when they were both quite a bit older. And have you ever heard of this movie?
No.
So Sean Connery is Robin Hood and she's made Marion, and she's been living as a nun, like in a convent, and somehow they end up together. I can't remember, but they're like in their 60s. And I don't remember how it ends, not gonna lie, but I remember watching it and just being like, this was kind of weird.
So why did she take a step back from acting?
So she said unofficially, like, she just went off to raise her children, and that was it.
Yeah.
So,
she kind of did a Rick Moranis.
Yes. Yeah, and she said she never really intended to not act, but it just sort of happened that way. But yeah, phenomenal job in this movie. And then Alan Arkin. So this was his second movie role. His very first movie was The Russians Are Coming, which is amazing. Have you ever seen The Russians Are Coming?
No, I need an education show.
It is hilarious. It is the funniest movie. So it's like about this, I can't even remember what island it is. I want to say it's like a little island in England, maybe. It might be Alaska.
Very similar and often confused
places. I can't remember where it's at, but they're like on this little island and the Russians invade this island.
Alaska would make sense.
Yeah, so that's why I was kind of thinking Alaska, but then I was also kind of thinking, I'm going to look it up. Oh, it says a Soviet submarine gets stuck in a sandbar off the coast of a New England island.
Aha, that's why you're thinking England.
Yeah.
It's New England.
Yeah. So they're trying to get their submarine unstuck and away before it causes an international incident. But like all of the islanders are afraid of a communist invasion. So they claim that they're Norwegian sailors and not like Russian, you know.
Interesting. And
hilarious.
it's a comedy. Okay.
It's a really funny movie. It's one of my dad's favorites. So Alan Arkin won an Oscar for that, and that was his first movie ever.
Wow.
And so when he was interviewed about this movie and why he didn't win an Oscar for this movie or even be nominated, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he's quoted as saying, "You don't get Oscars for being mean to Audrey Hepburn. That's just not how life works."
Seriously, when he walked in as Roat Jr. and his transformation was so complete, I was blown away.
Voice, mannerisms, everything. Yeah. He's incredible. And he has other couple quotes on IMDb where he talks about how this movie was really hard for him because he loved and admired Audrey Hepburn so much and he had to be so awful to her. And he was just like, I hated it. Like, it was so hard.
He played a great
I
evil
can
guy.
only imagine. He played, like, I would arguably say one of the most iconic villains ever.
Yeah.
Because he had no redeeming qualities. There was no break in his villainy.
Yeah.
Like, especially nowadays where a lot of times villains are funny or, like...
They humanize them.
Yeah. They try to soften them up. Or, you know, like stupid frickin' Maleficent.
I knew that was coming. I felt it in my bones.
We don't have to make every villain a good guy. What's next, Disney? Roat. Where they make a Disney version where, like, really he's just a good guy who's misunderstood, which is so funny because Wicked is, like, my favorite, but I can't stand Maleficent.
Well, and Wicked the musical is wonderful, but Wicked the book is
not wonderful. Yeah. But yeah, I love the way that Wicked does it. But I think that the Wicked Witch of the West was never, like, the iconic villain for me, and I always wanted her to have some kind of a backstory. Whereas Maleficent, I was like, she's the mistress of all evil. Like, she's just a bad guy. And then they try to make you sympathize with her, and you're like, no.
Yeah, and honestly,
I don't know.
The Wicked Witch of the West she doesn't get a lot of screen time in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And I'm distantly related to L. Frank Baum, by the way.
Jealous.
According to whatever. I'm sure you are too. Because of that stupid website that's like, look at all the people you're related to. It's like, oh, I'm related to every president and every founding father and every author I've ever admired.
I think mine was like Elvis. And, mine too. Like all of these random.
By incredibly stupid degrees.
Huge lengths.
Yeah.
Yes.
8 times, 5 times, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think there's more to play with there because her motives aren't necessarily played with. And even in The Wizard of Oz, they set out from the beginning, she hates Dorothy because Dorothy killed her sister.
Right.
She actually has a valid reason for disliking this interloper who
Maleficent's just like, you didn't invite me to a party. I'm mad.
Exactly.
It's great. Anyway, that's a whole other Jill rant. For those of you who don't know, I hate Maleficent the movie.
And they just keep making more of them.
That's ridiculous. Anywho, this movie, Wait Until Dark, is incredible. And I love it. And I don't think I convinced Caryn that it's scarier than it actually is. Just because I think we're scared of different things.
Yeah.
I'm scared of this could actually happen. People are evil, and that terrifies me. And
I'm scared of the invisible thing that my cats are looking at over my shoulder. Like, why are all of them looking at the same nothing on the wall? That's the kind of stuff that freaks me out.
Yes, so we have different taste in horror movies sometimes. Sometimes we agree. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this one scared me a lot more than Caryn, and I guess that's just going to have to be okay.
Yeah, that is totally okay.
Yep.
Bottom line, it's a great movie.
Fabulous movie. I recommend it to everyone.
And you mentioned that the jump scare when Roat leaps after her, that it's considered one of the top jump scares. Like, it's always included on lists.
It is, and it is fabulous. My mom scares easy, and I know that she's mentioned that one before, that this one's, like, stands out in her mind as something that scares her. But she also likes this movie, I believe. Mom, correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't shouted out to you yet, so here you go.
Wouldn't be an episode if we didn't.
Exactly. But also, I wanted to kind of compare the stage play a little bit. So I mentioned earlier, the stage play, like, it all starts out with them in the apartment at the very beginning. So it starts out with Mike and Carlino entering the apartment, and then it starts from there. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like the tension that builds because you have no idea what Sam's involvement is does he know this woman? Why does he have this doll?
Oh, that's a great point. It would have been an interesting mystery. You wouldn't know any better than Audrey Hepburn if her husband was involved.
So it adds this whole other level of tension of, is Sam involved? Who do we trust? We can't trust anyone. And then they drop the mic bomb on you. And you're like, well, you really can't trust anyone. Like, how? So yeah, it builds that up really well. And then the tension of when he jumps out at the end, like, just terrifies me. So it recently ran at Hale Center Theater about a year ago. Mm-hmm. And of which I have season tickets. So our friend Danielle and I went to see it. And Crystal was there as well. And neither of them had ever seen Wait Until Dark. Mm. And so I was so excited for the end. And Danielle does not handle scary things. Yes. The Jungle Book remake terrified her. Mm-hmm. She can't handle anything slightly tense. So I was so excited to see this play with her. I had seen it for the first time. We had this little community theater here in town. And I really thought my cousin Mike was in it, but he clarified for me that he was not. So I think I've just inserted him there in my mind because I think he would be really good in this play. So
undoubtedly.
Which he said he has done it, but not when I thought he had. The first time I had seen it, I don't even know. I think I'd seen part of the movie, but not the whole thing. And so the first time I was exposed to that jump scene was sitting in that theater. And for me, that was the most intense, like, holy crap, because you're like, oh my gosh, she's finally safe. You let your guard down and then nope.
Yeah.
So, really well done. So we're sitting in the Hale Center Theater. Danielle is terrified of everything. I love you, honey, but you are. She knows it. So, so we're sitting there and I'm like, it's coming. It's happening. I'm so excited. And everyone around me jumped so hard. And Danielle like smacked me and she was like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, for this reason. She's like, I almost peed my pants. So she was so terrified, and I love it. I love seeing this show done on the stage. If you ever get the chance, please go.
I really want to.
It is incredible. So well done. So I will keep my eye out. If it plays anywhere, I will take you because it is like one of my favorites.
That sounds awesome.
To see on the stage. Yeah. And the cast that we saw when we went to see it was all people that like Danielle had fallen in love with in previous productions that we had seen. Mm-hmm. Especially the man who plays Roat had played in another production and we just fell in love with him. He was hilarious. He was so fun, so charismatic. And then to see him play Roat was terrifying. And we saw him in something after that and she was like, well, I don't know if I can. I'm still scared of it. He did such a good job and she was so terrified of this guy. But I think she's finally like, okay, we've seen him in 2 fun things and 1 scary thing. It's going to be okay.
The scales are balancing.
Yeah, I think she can handle it a little bit better, but I think she's still a little bit terrified of him as a human.
Oh,
so
that's amazing.
But yeah, whenever I see it, like whoever plays Roat, like it's a make or break it, right? Like,
yeah, I can imagine. That's why I hope that's who Mike played. Because
I know. I wish I should have asked him who he played. Yeah. But I bet he would do that very well.
Yeah.
So let us know, Mike, who you played. Because we want to know. He can do any of them. But
yeah.
Anywho, I love this show. I love this story. I think Audrey Hepburn is incredible. Alan Arkin is incredible, as we've talked about. I would not change a thing about this movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you, like me, were somehow in the dark about it, no pun intended, but if you haven't seen it, even if we just spoiled the crap out of it for you.
Doesn't matter. Still watch it.
It's so well done. Mm-hmm. And it's worth watching even just as a study in a wonderfully executed film. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Mike, for requesting that we watch this.
Yes, thank you for reminding me that I needed to make Caryn watch this, because I had no idea she hadn't seen it. I just assumed she had. So it was good for us.
If you also would like to make a listener request and have your voice be part of Scream Girl Squad, woo! We would love to hear it. Send us an email at screamgirlsquad@gmail.com. We'll file those away, use that as our to-watch list, and if we are going to review your movie, we'll send you an email back with instructions on how to leave us a message that we can incorporate in the episode.
Yep. Also, if you want to suggest something but don't want to be part of the episode, that is okay too. We will still take your suggestions and give you a shout out, even if you don't want to talk. That's okay too.
That's okay too. But isn't it so much more fun when it's not just us?
Right?
Huge last minute shout out to Brad. Brad told us that he's a listener.
Yes.
And he got a sticker last week. So, hi, Brad.
Brad, enjoy that sticker.
And we hope everyone else enjoyed it too. Thanks so much for tuning in to Scream Girl Squad.
Bye.
Bye.